The extremes of California's weather is like black and white. The black is the charred trees from one of California's massive wildfires. 5 of the state's largest have come since the last time the state saw even close to this much snow back in 2017. Too much drought? Now is there too much snow? Certainly if it melts too quickly. The flash floods in Springville and Kernville show why flooding is the deadliest threat to Californians historically, not wildfires. According to California's Governor's Office of Emergency Services, more people died from January's atmospheric river storms than the last 2 fire seasons combined. There is a downside to all this snow, and it's not just removing it, it's what happens when all of this melts. And especially if it melts too quickly. If rain starts to fall up here in Soda Springs and melting the snow too quickly, some houses are in a very precarious situation, including the folks here. They've already had to deal with a flood this year from this year's atmospheric river, the warm core that brought rain here to Soda Springs.
The flooding happens throughout the whole house. As you can see, everything's up on risers. Everything's up. The couch is on crates. Everything's up. Obviously, the dog bed would get moved, and everything else that's on the ground gets moved. With the house being small, there's not a lot of place to put things.
How high does the water get in here usually with the...
It's gotten up to 6 to 8 inches. Wine cooler on. Up. Everything's up, pretty much. No kickboards, you know.
No carpet.
No more carpet. Yeah.
That has to be a bummer.
It is sad because I can't replace the carpet because we know we're going to flood again. And I'm going to eventually just rock the whole downstairs because it's durable and it's easy to dry out. But once it starts coming in, it just flows off the road. All of the storm drains are completely plugged from the heavy snow, and it has nowhere else to go. And we're slightly downslope from the road, so it just comes straight through us. Lots of snow, living in an igloo.
Do you feel claustrophobic ever?
No, because the rest of the house we keep cleared. The whole front of the house we keep cleared, so southern facing, we get lots of sun coming in. We keep the back cleared because of the dog. So we just pretty much get 2 windows that are buried. And eventually, we have dug that window out already this winter. But right now, we just don't have the time with everything else trying to keep dug out.
It seems like it's kind of a crucial part of living up here to keep some windows clear, to get some sun in, not to have it buried.
It depends, especially how your roof sheds. You can get icicles. Windows can break. This actual window did break this winter. Luckily, it only broke the outside pane, the double pane. But before it was completely buried, you can see we've got a punch in the window from a piece of ice that came down and broke it. So your windows breaking is a huge issue with all of the snow. And this one's impossible to keep clear because it's on the roof shed side of the house, where normally that doesn't get as buried. But we try and keep it clear. With the last storm, the windows buried up, especially with the wind drift, if you get the wind blowing really bad. But sun is crucial.
Yeah, well, I noticed you have plants. Like, you're trying to keep some greenery around.
Well, when you're buried and everything's white, yes, I like my plants. I like the greenery. Makes you feel like you're still alive in all of the depths of the snow, for sure. Getting off the hill with spring and everything's green, it's almost a shock to the system.
I mean, impressive, right? The snow all the way up to these lines. Now, I'm told that these bottom lines are actually for like telecommunication, cable, internet. The upper lines are electricity. Folks around here are still having a lot of problems with electricity, though, because of just how high the snow is being moved and blown. It's not getting any better anytime soon.
Power off and on, the fluctuation, as you can see, the power lines are pretty much all the way up. Sometimes even just the county blowers will blow out the transformers, not realizing that they're hitting it. And you just, yeah. Power is crucial. wood is crucial. Keeping warm is crucial.
Yeah.
It's been a very cold year. We've gone through a tremendous amount of wood and energy logs, which is what we use for hardwood. And we burned through a lot. We've already had to get more this winter, which is unusual, and we're getting low.
Peak snowpack is typically the 1st of April, and we're already at a top 5 all-time snowpack. While there's still a ways to go, if you can believe it or not, to the top, it keeps coming closer and closer with every flake that falls.
I doubt we'll get up there with the 52-53 storm, because that was, 814 inches. I don't want to see that. I don't want to beat that record.
Yeah, I was wondering, at what point does it get, somebody that obviously loves snow, loves mountain living, but at what point is it just like, okay?
Right now, with the fact that there's nowhere to put the snow. Getting out there, we've got Honda blowers, steam dust snow removal itself. That's the thing. You can't throw the snow anywhere without it avalanching back down onto where you're blowing the snow. So that becomes the most problematic, is there's nowhere else to put it. I mean, I'm sure you've heard all the reports. Everybody needs to clear their decks and clear their roofs. We have our wood sheds getting really heavy with a lot of snow, and I want to take it down, but we have nowhere to put it once it comes down, and I can't block the driveway to the house that's in back of us. So it's just a matter of, yeah, you could deal with it, but where do you put it?
Wow. Did you ever think you'd see something like this? I mean, you obviously heard the stories of the 80s and the 50 storms and even 2010. I mean, that was obviously a crazy year, but...
Yeah, because we've been through some big years. I mean, I'm glad that we're having it. We need the water. We need, all of this to help the drought situation, which initially it made a dent, and now it's really brought a lot of the Central Valley and everything out of the drought. So with the fire danger and everything, it's welcome. I know it's definitely hard to deal with, but it's something that's needed desperately. We don't need another drought winter. So
I mean, it was just last summer you were choking on smoke.
Yes, almost every summer now it seems like we just get inundated with the fires and the smoke. So it's nice to have the snow, the rain, the water. It's a lot to deal with, but at the same time, it's much needed. From drought and wildfires to choking on smoke to now being trapped and overwhelmed with snow. It's a weather whiplash. One disaster to another. Is that all there is in California now? It's something I asked last summer when I saw Pacific Crest Trail hikers loading up in a rental car in Medford, Oregon. A wildfire had stopped their months-long hike from the Mexico border to the Canadian border just as they were about to cross into Oregon.
People get hung up on a continuous footpath, so not skipping any miles, but with climate change or just the weird weather patterns, however you want to call it now, that's impossible. And everyone really should just kind of realize that's probably not...
This trail is no longer able to be done continuously. With every year the fires keep getting worse, and it's just, we knew going into this that this was going to be probably how it went, just because it seems to be happening more and more each year.
If you're willing to hike 40 miles a day from the beginning or 30 miles a day from the beginning, it's doable, but basically the trail needs to be done in 4 months if you want a continuous footpath it. We're not those people.
Because quite frankly, that you're going to get interrupted by the fires.
Yeah, we'll get interrupted by fires. Snowfall is another big one. So we had a weird year this year because Washington had record snowfall. I think Oregon did also. So if we moved too quickly, then we were going to run into heavy snowfall, which was going to create more problems in Oregon and Washington. So 2022 has been a special year.
2023 said, hold on. Vast sections of the Pacific Crest Trail in Southern California have been closed. Many had to put their plans on hold, plans that can be years in the making, many giving up jobs to make this journey, like these hikers who had to give up on a couple of 100 miles of hiking because of the fires.
Had to be a disappointment, though. I mean, you guys had made it so far. I mean, so far. That's a long...
We were like barely 100 miles left of the California border, and we didn't get to do our proper goodbye, but the trail will always be there, hopefully, as of right now. So
that was the hardest thing, I think, is not being able to cross the Oregon border, because they call it the NorCal Blues. So you're on the trail for 3 months, and you're kind of no matter what you hike, you're stuck there unless you're comfortable with snow. Because you got to get through the Sierras with snow. So anyways, you're in California for 3 months. You get the blues because you're sick of being there, which we all absolutely had the NorCal blues. So we were just super excited to be like 4 days or 5 days from crossing the border. And we pushed fires out of the realm because we'd made it that far. And then in 24 hours, like, it all went to crap, so whatever.
It is what it is now. You know, now we're just trying to make the best of it and get as many miles in as possibly as we can to hopefully either maybe come back and do the rest, or, you know, maybe next year, or just, it's just hard because, you know, you can only take so much off of work and then go back and be like, hey, can we have some more time for next year, you know? So it's just, it's kind of hard, but we're just happy we've had the experience.
While snow isn't unusual on the hike, this much is. Add into the snow melt later and the flash flooding, the trail will likely be too dangerous for most until it's too late in the season to start.
Essential, keeping the hot tub dug out.
But for those not just passing through, this is life now. And it really helps to have a husband who's in the snow moving business.
That's the secondary. That's to get in between the cars before we can move the cars and have the big blower take the rest out.
It's probably key to be married to a snow removal guy.
Yes, it has its benefits.
It's like a cheat code.
Right.
Yeah. I love
But
it.
when he's gone at 2 a.m. and I'm leaving at 6, people, you know, I'm still left on my own accord because he can't get the driveway done.
Yeah.
But over 2 decades of experience in this Sierra has shown her just how close to disaster people live here.
1917. It was 3-4 feet. They have an upper deck and they were using a surfboard to get off the house and try and move the cars to get them out of the flood, and ice chunks.
And it was just a rapidly melting kind of event.
Yes.
Like where it was just raining and...
Rain, complete rain, and it came so fast. Thank goodness the house is elevated, but they lost a bunch of their cars in that flood. And they were stuck in the house trying to use a surfboard to get out.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the story of the Sierra. If California were a book, I'd steal a title from George R.R. Martin. It's a land of fire and ice, and everything in between. Sometimes in the same day. I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed my content, I hope you'll subscribe and set the alert bell so you'll know when I post my next story. I'm Jonathan Petramala.